Have you ever woken up one morning, rubbed the sleep from your eyes, and felt a quiet jolt of disbelief at how swiftly time seems to slip through your fingers? One day, you're a whirlwind of energy, conquering challenges with a boldness that feels invincible, laughing off exhaustion as if it's a distant stranger. The next, you're standing still, chest heaving, catching your breath in a world that somehow shifted beneath your feet. You blink, and the question creeps in. When did everything change? Aging sneaks up like a shadow at dusk, subtle at first, then undeniable. It's a journey laced with surprises and hurdles, a transformation that can leave you reeling if you're not ready. But here's the secret that can steady your steps. Understanding what lies ahead doesn't just prepare you, it empowers you. It's the compass that guides you through this uncharted stage of life with clarity and courage. In this exploration, we're plunging into 5 raw, universal truths about growing older, realities that every soul will face, whether they spot the signs on the horizon or stumble into them blind. From the way your social world reshapes itself to the startling shifts in the mirror's reflection, these insights will reframe how you see aging. They'll invite you to embrace it, not with fear, but with a quiet, defiant confidence. Stay with me until the end, because some of these revelations might just unravel the way you've always thought about getting older and leave you forever changed. Let's step into it together. Number 1. The energy tide recedes. Picture yourself in your 20s, a dynamo of boundless vigor. You would charge through a day packed with work, errands, and late-night laughter, fueled by little more than coffee and sheer will. Fatigue, a fleeting inconvenience, brushed off with a shrug. Now, imagine it's a crisp afternoon decades later. By 2 o'clock, your limbs feel heavy, as if they're whispering for a pause. Tasks that once flowed effortlessly, a quick grocery run, a brisk walk, now demand a deliberate effort, a conscious choice. It's not that you can't do them. It's that you weigh where to pour your energy, aware that the well isn't as deep as it once was. This shift doesn't announce itself with fanfare. At first, you might blame a restless night or a lingering cold. You tell yourself it's temporary, an off day, but then the pattern settles in. Your body doesn't snap back like it used to. A late night leaves you foggy for days, not hours. Skipping lunch sends a tremor through your focus. That ache in your knees after a long walk, it lingers now, a quiet reminder of time's toll. You push too hard, and the next morning greets you with a bill, stiffness, exhaustion, a body that insists you listen. For someone like James, a retired carpenter in his late 60s, this reality hit hard. He'd spent decades hauling timber, hammering nails until dusk, his hands calloused but tireless. Energy was his currency, spent freely without a second thought. Now, sanding a single chair in his workshop leaves him winded, and he's had to trade marathon projects for measured bursts of effort. Yet James adapted. He carved out a rhythm of early mornings, gentle stretches, and hearty breakfasts, learning to work with his body instead of against it. This is where the pivot happens. Older adults like James Discover that energy isn't infinite. It's a precious resource to steward. Sleep becomes sacred, not optional. A walk in the park replaces a grueling gym session. A salad sneaks onto the plate where fries once reigned. Rest, once a guilty indulgence snatched between obligations, transforms into a lifeline. Ignore it, and your body protests, sometimes with a wave of fatigue that pins you to the couch, other times with a twinge in your back that wasn't there yesterday. But here's the beauty. This isn't surrender. It's strategy. You don't stop living. You get smarter about it. You plan your days around your peaks, not your past. A night out with friends? You savor it, but you're home before midnight. A big project? You break it into pieces, pacing yourself with a patience you never needed before. The things you love, gardening, dancing, chasing grandkids, don't vanish. They just shift shape. You trade spontaneity for intention, autopilot for awareness. There's a saying that echoes through the years. It's not about adding years to your life, but life to your years. That's the heartbeat of this stage. Energy may ebb, but when you harness it, when you pour it into what truly lights you up, you find a fullness that youth couldn't touch. You may have less stamina, but you wield it with a precision that makes every moment count. Aging doesn't dim your fire, it teaches you how to tend it. Number 2, the social horizon narrows. Close your eyes and drift back to your younger days. Your world buzzed with voices, friends spilling into your weekends, co-workers swapping stories over coffee, neighbors waving from porches, plans sparked with a text or a call, effortless as breathing. Now, fast forward. The phone sits quieter. The calendar has more blank squares than scribbled dates. You glance around and realize the circle that once felt like a bustling village has shrunk to a handful of familiar faces. It's not that you meant for it to happen, it just did. Take Sarah, a vibrant woman in her early 70s. In her 30s, she was the hub of a lively crew. Friday dinners with friends, Saturday barbecues with colleagues, Sunday brunches with family. Life was a tapestry of connection, woven tight by proximity and shared seasons. But time unraveled it thread by thread. Friends moved to sunny estates for retirement. Her kids built nests of their own. Co-workers faded into memory after she left the office behind. One evening, sipping tea alone on her porch, she felt the silence settle in, a stillness where laughter once rang. At first, you might shrug it off. Life's busy, you tell yourself. Everyone's juggling their own chaos. But then the gaps widen. You text an old friend, only to realize the last message was 3 years ago. The conversation, a fossil of, "We should catch up." You scroll your contacts, and the list feels shorter, the names less certain. Some drifted away naturally. Different cities, different lives. Others slipped through cracks you didn't notice until they were gone. And then there's the sharper ache, the ones you've lost forever. A childhood pal to illness, a parent to time. Each goodbye carves a hollow, a reminder that the clock doesn't pause. Here's the sting. Friendships don't coast like they used to. In youth, they thrived on convenience. School hallways, office chatter, soccer sidelines. Now, they demand effort. Scheduling calls across time zones, driving miles for a coffee date. Without that push, they fade, not from apathy, but from life's relentless pull in opposite directions. Sarah felt this keenly when she tried reviving a decades-old bond, only to find the rhythm stilted. The shared past not enough to bridge the present. Yet amid the shrinking, there's a silver thread. The relationships that endure grow roots, deep, unshakable. The friend who calls on your birthday, not out of habit, but heart. The sibling who shows up with soup when you're sick. These aren't just connections, they're lifelines, and new ones can bloom too. Sarah joined a book club last spring. Her voice shaky at first, but now she's the one hosting. Her kitchen alive with debate and laughter again. It takes work, more than it once did, but the reward is a richness that quantity can't rival. Loneliness lurks if you let it, a shadow that thrives on neglect. But connection isn't a relic of youth. It's a choice, a phone call, a shared hobby, a smile at a stranger who might become more. As you age, it's not about how many fill your orbit, but how deeply they know you and how fiercely you hold them close. Comment number 2 below if this resonates, and if you haven't subscribed, hit that bell. We'd love to keep this journey going with you. Number 3. The mirror tells a new tale. Imagine standing in front of your bathroom mirror one quiet morning. The light soft but unforgiving. You lean in, tracing the lines etched around your eyes. Faint yesterday, bold today. Your hair, once a thick cascade of color, now thins at the crown, threads of silver weaving through like whispers of winter. You tilt your head, searching for the face you've always known, but it's shifted, subtly at first, then starkly. The reflection staring back isn't a stranger, but it's not quite the you you've carried in your mind all these years. Aging doesn't just alter how others see you, it rewrites how you see yourself. For someone like Elena, a 58-year-old teacher with a laugh that once turned heads, this shift crept in like an uninvited guest. She'd never been vain. Her beauty was in her warmth, her quick wit. But one day, a student called her mom with a deference that jolted her. Later, passing a shop window, she caught her silhouette. Shoulders softer, posture less defiant, and paused. The girl who danced barefoot at summer festivals felt miles away, buried beneath years she hadn't fully tallied. It's not vanity that stings, it's the dissonance. Inside, Elena still crackles with the same fire, same humor, same dreams, but the world insists on seeing her through a different lens. This change unfolds in fragments. An old photo tumbles from a drawer, and you marvel at the smoothness of your skin, the brightness in your eyes, a snapshot of a self you didn't know you'd lose. Strangers nod politely now, their glances sliding past where they once lingered. A cashier hands you change with a gentle, "Here you go, dear," and you blink. When did you become dear? It's a quiet invisibility, a shift from being noticed to being assumed. Society whispers that youth is the prize, and age a fade into the background. You feel it in the way conversations tilt toward the young, the way your voice sometimes echoes unheard. The internal wrestle is real. You know aging is universal. Every laugh line a badge of survival, every gray hair a testament to resilience. Yet some days, acceptance falters. You pass a billboard of airbrushed perfection and wonder if you've slipped from relevance. Elena felt this tug when a colleague gushed about a new teacher's fresh energy, leaving her to question if her own spark had dimmed. It's a lie society sells, that older means less vibrant, less vital, less you. And so some fight it, creams, dyes, a desperate grip on what was. But here's the truth that cuts through the noise. Real power lies in embracing the now. Those lines, they map a life where you've grinned through joy, furrowed through sorrow, squinted into the sun. That silver in your hair? It's a crown of experience earned through decades no one can take away. Elena learned this slowly, standing taller in her classroom, her voice steady with a wisdom her younger self couldn't muster. Confidence isn't about clinging to youth. It's about stepping into your age with ownership, unapologetic and whole. The world may fetishize the new, but age carries a gravity youth can't touch. A young face might catch an eye, but an older one commands a room. With presence, with the quiet knowing of someone who's weathered storms and still stands. You're not a shadow of who you were. You're a deeper cut, carved by time into something richer. How you see yourself, beyond the mirror, beyond the noise, defines you far more than any fleeting glance. Aging doesn't erase you, it reveals you. Number 4, health steps into the spotlight. Wind to a time when your body was a silent partner, humming along without a second thought. You'd leap out of bed, chase the day, and trust your knees, your lungs, your heart to keep pace. Health was a vague, someday concern, important, sure, but not urgent. Now, picture a morning in your 60s. You swing your legs over the bed's edge, and a stiffness greets you, a creak in joints that once moved like silk. A cold that used to vanish in a day now lingers, a stubborn guest. The doctor's office, once a rare detour, becomes a regular stop. Prescriptions stacking up like bookmarks in a new chapter. Health isn't background noise anymore. It's the stage your life plays out on. Meet Tom, a 64-year-old mechanic who once hoisted engines with ease, his hands steady and strong. For years, he lived on burgers and late nights, shrugging off warnings with a grin. I'm fine, always will be. Then came the morning, he couldn't grip his wrench without a twinge. The day a flight of stairs left him winded. A doctor's visit later, words like blood pressure and cholesterol landed in his lap, no longer abstract terms, but daily realities. Health, once a given, turned into a taskmaster demanding attention. It starts small, a backache after gardening, a slower recovery from a late night. You notice the consequences sharpen. Skip breakfast, and your focus frays by noon. Push through a workout, and you're sidelined for days. Your body sets boundaries where none existed before. Tom felt this when a greasy meal left him sluggish for hours, a far cry from the days he'd power through anything. Suddenly, stretching isn't a luxury, it's a lifeline. Water isn't a chore, it's fuel. Sleep isn't negotiable, it's the glue holding you together. The shift deepens with routine. Checkups morph from maybe next year to non-negotiable. Screenings, blood work, bone scans, pepper your calendar. Medications line the counter, each pill a tiny pact with tomorrow. It's daunting at first, this new vigilance. But it's also the difference between coasting and crashing. Catch a warning early, a high reading, a faint ache, and you rewrite the story. Ignore it, and the stakes climb. Tom learned this the hard way, adjusting his diet, lacing up sneakers for walks he once scoffed at, trading bravado for balance. What sets the thrivers apart isn't just action, it's attitude. Some see their body as a ledger of flaws, a tally of what's breaking. Others, like Tom after his wake-up call, see it as a partner to nurture. They move, yoga, a stroll, a dance in the kitchen, because motion is medicine. They eat not for indulgence, but for strength, savoring the shift from want to need. Health becomes a choice, not a sentence. You can't stop time, but you can steer it, adding not just years, but vitality. Comment number 4 below if this hits home, and stick around. We're almost to the end. Number 5. Purpose rewrites itself. Step into your past for a moment. Life pulsed with purpose, tangible, loud, undeniable. You were the breadwinner clocking overtime, the parent cheering at soccer games, the friend everyone leaned on. Identity was a scaffolding of roles, each one a brick in who you were. Now, imagine the quiet after the storm. Retirement strips the office badge away. Kids move out, their rooms echoing with absence. The phone rings less, the days stretch longer, and a question hums beneath it all. What's my purpose now? Aging doesn't just reshape your body, it redefines your soul's compass. Consider Margaret, a 70-year-old nurse who spent decades stitching wounds and soothing fears. Her stethoscope was her shield, her patience her mission. When she retired, the hospital bustle faded, and with it, the rhythm that defined her. Mornings felt aimless, the house too still. Friends her age wrestled too. Empty nests, silent careers, some sinking into the void, others scrambling for footing. Purpose, once a roaring current, slowed to a trickle, leaving Margaret to wonder if she'd lost her place in the world. It's a pivot no one warns you about. Youth hands you markers, promotions, diplomas, a child's first steps. Success feels concrete. Then time pulls those away, and the absence aches. You might sit in a recliner, staring at walls that once buzzed with life and feel unmoored. Margaret did, flipping through old photos. Her nurse's cap, a relic of a self she couldn't reclaim. The trap is thinking purpose retires with your job or fades with your duties. It doesn't. It evolves, and that shift can rattle you. But here's where the light breaks through. The ones who thrive, like Margaret after months of drift, don't wait for meaning. They chase it. She dusted off a paintbrush, a hobby shelved for years, and found joy in strokes of color. She volunteered at a clinic, her hands steadying lives again. Purpose isn't a title, it's a spark you kindle. It's in the garden you tend, the stories you tell grandkids, the quiet coffee with a friend. Aging frees you from the grind, handing you a canvas to paint on your terms. The gift is freedom. No more chasing clocks or pleasing crowds. You choose what fills you. Maybe it's mentoring, sharing wisdom only time can forge. Maybe it's travel, tasting a world you once glimpsed in postcards. For Margaret, it's both. The brush in one hand, a patient's gratitude in the other. Purpose doesn't shrink with age. It deepens, rooted in who you've become, not what you do. You're not stepping back. You're stepping into a chapter you write yourself. Final thoughts. A life refined. As we close this journey, pause and breathe. Which of these truths struck a chord? Did the dip in energy tug at your own tired days? Did the shrinking circle echo in your quiet evenings? Maybe the mirrors shift, or health's new weight felt personal. Or perhaps purpose's evolution stirred something deep. Aging isn't a thief stealing who you were, it's a sculptor chiseling away the excess to reveal what endures. Wisdom, grit, a clarity youth can't grasp. This stage isn't about loss, it's about intention. Tend your body like a garden, not a machine. Hold your people close, not for numbers, but for depth. See your years not as a fade, but a glow, a presence earned through every step. Let go of what weighs you down, vanity, regret, and lean into what lifts you. Joy, connection, the small victories of a day well lived. Your best isn't behind you. It's unfolding, raw and real in the now. Thank you for walking this path with me. Drop a comment below. What hit you hardest, and how will you carry it forward? Your voice fuels this space. If this stirred you, like, subscribe, share. We're here to keep sparking these moments. See you in the next one.